So you have to be able to take constructive criticism without being a whining pansy.
Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Creative Table. With us today, we have the one and only Kelly Collins Lintz. She's a good friend of ours and she's a very successful actress and has a lot to say about the topic. So if you're in the business of acting, want to get into it or otherwise, pay attention. Let's jump into it. Kelly, thank you.
I don't know that I've ever been called a very successful actress.
Well, you know, I gotta help me.
I'm more
cut line. No.
I would like to tout myself as a solid working class actress.
Yes, there you go. Working being the key word for all of you starving actors.
Yes. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you have any, recommendation or opinions on what schools are best to look at that would maybe go against the grain or be less, people maybe didn't think of it this way because maybe they're also thinking, oh, I got to go to NYU or I got to go, those typical examples. Do you have any opinions on school? And also, do you have to have, or is it best to have a theater background, to succeed?
No, that's the thing. My son is a professional actor, professional child actor, and has been since he was 4. And so was my daughter. They both they did not get degrees in acting. Never in my life have I walked into an audition and they have said, you're not quite right. And then I whip out my diploma, but I have a theater degree from Penn State.
Or what school did you go to? Because
it's never helped me one time. And a lot of parents don't like to hear that. They'll say, well, what school should they go to study acting? And I'm like, none. If they're going to go to college, get a degree in something else because their degree in performance will not really help them. It'll give them some experience, but it will not. It will not really help or hurt. You're either good or you're not, and you either look right or you don't.
So what does help in terms of the? Let's assume the looks are right. So what do you go?
Training.
So training. You recommend training. Then how?
Well, you can go to some acting. It depends on if you want to be on film or television, or if you want to be on stage. Those are 2 different languages.
Okay.
So when you're on stage, I've got to project the back of the house.
Right.
Right. But when
unless you're wearing one of those fancy hidden microphones in your hair, and maybe the speakers are.
Even then, still, it's a different acting style than if a camera is 2 inches away from my face.
Right.
Because if I behaved the way that I would on stage, and the camera's right here.
You get that, Andy?
That would be ridiculous.
Got it. Okay.
So I had to really learn. In fact, when I first started auditioning for film and television, one time I had to drive to Jacksonville, and it was my very first audition for a television show called Point Man, and there was a casting director named Len Hunt.
Okay.
Len Hunt was from England. He was Simon Cowell before there was Simon Cowell, okay?
Yep.
I drive up there, 3.5 hours away. I'm all excited. I'm all prepared. I go in and I start doing, I think I was auditioning to be a waitress in some beachside bar.
Yeah.
And I start going, and all of a sudden he's like, no, stop. And I'm like, yes. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, acting. And he's like, no, you're far too big. You need to bring it down. The camera's right here. And I'm like, okay. Go again. No. Stop me 3 times. And he was like, what in God's name are you doing with your eyebrows? And I'm like, I don't know. And he basically told me not to come back until I had gone home and fixed my face.
Okay. Wow.
So I get in the car and I call my agent and I'm just like, and then he told me to fix my face, and I hated him and I wished evil scorpions upon him.
Right. Yeah.
But what do you think I did when I went home?
Got out the mirror and started working on your eyebrow.
I fixed my freaking face.
Yeah.
Okay. I went and I realized I started going to a class where you would watch yourself back on camera, and I realized my eyebrows were moving like crazy. I was doing all this extra stuff that I didn't need to do that wasn't real or grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Once I took that class, I started booking work right away. And so I hated Len Hunt, but I also credit Len Hunt for anything I've achieved. Because if I had not taken his advice and just been like, well, he's stupid.
I can totally sing. Simon doesn't know what he's talking about.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Who knows? So you have to be able to take constructive criticism without being a whining pansy.
Even if the criticism is coming at you loud and hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And it does frequently. So that's one story of, that was a fail forward moment in my life of like, that was a disaster. And yet.
So a lot of people, when they start out, they think, oh, I'm just going to move here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to take this class. I'm going to fix my face, whatever it is. And I'm just going to, and eventually within this amount of time, I'm going to be rocking and rolling. Like, is there a point where as an actress, you realize, okay, I got to do something else, or I've made it, or like you talk about this spirit of perseverance, and because you're going to face all this, it's an uphill battle, a sense of rejection, etc.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, between
there's a lie about all of it that I think is pervasive throughout the career as a whole, that kind of pulls people in, and they're after this affirmation, or they're after this sense of fame, and yet there's going to be all this hard work and rejection and so forth. And I mean, well, to lay the groundwork on that, I mean, I basically grew up thinking that whether it was consciously or unconsciously, if I achieve fame, that will equal happiness and satisfaction. And that was really my only goal. And so when I go for, I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, Kevin. So when I want something, I will go after it. And then that was passed on to my children too. And so we began to achieve quite a bit, especially my children, who have all been series regulars on television shows like Under the Dome and The Alienist and Bosch and a little known zombie show called The Walking Dead. Three of my kids have played prominent roles on that show, and we've worked with people like Adam Sandler and Matthew McConaughey and Jennifer Garner and Peter Dinklage and more, Dakota Fanning, Luke Evans, you name it. And I can honestly tell you that the further we've gone down the path, the more it's fraught with dissatisfaction and fear and anxiety and mental unrest. The more notoriety my children gained, the more it opened them up to so much. And, I find Hollywood to be a very emotionally abusive environment to be in. And a lot of times we mistake perseverance for emotional abuse, And so I put my kids through a lot. And I say I put my kids through a lot. They wanted to be put through it. They had the same goals and dreams that I did. But there were times where I'm like, am I teaching you perseverance here, or am I just abusing you? Because am I being Joe Jackson right now, or am I?
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And we always told them, whenever you want out, say the word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's harder to leave than you think, because what happens is...
kind of like The Firm.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I liken it to an abusive spouse. Like, he gives you pearls one day... Yeah. And then beats the crap out of you the next. And you never know why. And what you did yesterday to get the pearls won't work today.
Okay.
And you never know how to repeat that.
And you get the pearls and you realize they're not even that nice.
They're not even that great.
Right.
Yeah. He got them at Kohl's. So...
it's like,
not allowed to say
this
that.
episode is brought to you by Kohl's.
By Kohl's. And they're abusive pearls.
Yes.
So, you just never know. Like, it takes, I'm not even talking about the rejection of having to do 50 auditions to get one job, which is about the average, and then you're hot. That's one part of it. But there's stuff like, when Madison, me having to tell my daughter Madison that she was going to be killed off The Walking Dead. That was not a good day in the Lintz household. I mean, I got that news when I was out driving around, and rather than go home and tell her, I went to Target and bought $300 worth of kitchen linens, like just trying to figure out how am I going to break this news to her.
I thought you were going to say $300 worth of toys or something, but
no, it was all for me.
Yeah.
And then, so that, and then actually that show broke 3 of my children's hearts.
Okay.
Because all 3 of my kids.
I feel like it broke everyone's hearts eventually.
Eventually you can't escape.
Right.
Unless you're Carol or Daryl. Anyway, so those moments I think are a lot of times, and I have a lot of parents that come to me and they're like, okay, what do I do? How do I get my kid into this? And my first question is, are you sure you want to? Mm-hmm. Because there's so much that goes along with it that a lot of parents don't anticipate.